you're doing and allows you to work collaboratively with subject matter experts, other designers, developers, and really think through the problems that you're trying to solve and get to the point where you can clarify what it is that you want to do. And then from that point, that's where I really like, I forget the author, but Google's put out a lot of work on design sprints. And I think that if you can clarify the problem that you're trying to solve, then using tools and methods that they talk about in design sprints help you get to solutions really quickly and get it in front of your user so that you don't keep any idea too precious. Get it in front of your customers, get it in front of the people using your service, and then find out what they think. Because if you're not serving them well, you don't have anything. It doesn't matter. Get it through the sprint, get it in front of your customers, and get feedback on it, and iteratively make changes as fast as you can.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of game storming and the Google Ventures book, Design Sprint. I think my wife and I have like 2 or 3 copies of Design Sprint, to be honest. We both utilize it.
The third book that I really like, I forget the author. Maybe we can look it up, but it's 0 to 1. Taking something to scale and going from 0 to 1 are 2 different things. And they require different skill sets, different thinking, different processes. And I think as a designer, if you can understand which area are you in, it helps you understand what you need to use and what tools you need to bring to the table. Just like anything, if you're beginning to train for a marathon, you're going to do different things than when you're at your 20th week. And I think it's important as designers that you understand that it's not one size fits all. You're going to change what you're doing. You're still going to talk to customers. You're just going to do it different, and you're going to have different things with you at the same time.
Is there a product or tool set that has been impactful in your career?
I think that the tools that have been impactful for me are of course IDEO and Frog have been pumping out human-centered design tools. I've used a lot of them along with the tools in the game storming book. And really I've just been, mashing those tools together. I think it's important if you can understand how they work, then you can figure out how to start using them differently. There's a lot of different ways to use a hammer. And I think if you can understand all the different things you could do with your tools, you will become a better designer, and you'll know when to pull it out and when to use it differently to get the results that you're looking for.
Yeah, it makes sense. I see a lot of designers even today using things like Keynote as a design tool, even though it's a presentation tool. But it makes a lot of sense if a lot of things you're doing is demoing all the time. Sure, you can use tools like InVision, but Keynote's a pretty powerful tool when you really need to get scrappy, right? And I know you're an analog guy like me. You're big into notebooks too. And, I've always found that keeping a strong foot in the analog has always been helpful from a creativity standpoint.
I'm a strong proponent of starting with that sketch and doing paper prototypes. Get your idea rough and raw and just draw it on a piece of paper. And then make some of your first initial changes that way, and then get it in front of customers. I can recall a design that a design team was working on at Lifetime, and I know they didn't want to bring it in front of the customer, but they had spent a long time. Like I'm talking, they had spent weeks on this design, and I said, "Can we just do a quick usability test on it?" We put it in front of the customer, and the first question was, "What do you think this was for?" And the user said, "I have no idea." And that's a problem because if they don't even know what it's for or how it was going to benefit them, then they're not going to use it. And the purpose of this tool was to put it in the club to be a self-discovery tool to help a user understand what training services were available to them that would help them achieve their end goal of losing weight, sleeping better, eating better.
Yeah.
But if they can't even get past the first screen and they walk away, it doesn't matter. They never got past the first screen. So,
okay. So let me ask you, what is some of the best professional advice you've ever received in your career?
Always remember to, lead from behind. I think it's really easy, especially it's easy to fall into the trap of trying to lead from the front and trying to get people to follow. And I think it's more important to lead from behind, lead by example, but lead from behind, especially when you're trying to get other people to champion this thing you want to do, like user experience. You need to show them what you're doing so they understand, but then you need to let them figure out how to do UX. And it doesn't mean they need to build all the wireframes and all that kind of stuff, but they need to discover themselves what they need to do. And as you do it collaboratively, you need to help them get to a new spot because they'll take ownership in it. And then you can lead from behind when you see them going in the wrong direction or, heading down a path isn't going to be successful for their customer. You can simply just turn them in another direction instead of fighting them or trying to pull them over to where you want. It becomes so much easier.
Yeah, I think the impact there is important because you're actually making them a part of your team, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas I see in certain cases where UX team is looked at as a service, it makes it much more difficult to pull people in like that and make them a part of the team and the experience.
And I think to add on to that point, I think that when you're viewed as a service, then you're just not valued. Mm-hmm. I mean, you really aren't. Even though you might be providing a great service, if the business believes that you are as invested as they are in the success of their business, then they are going to listen to your recommendations and act on them accordingly. Mm-hmm. If they think that you're there fighting for the customer and without regard to the business that they're trying to run, they're going to take that beautifully designed report and it's going to end up in the filing cabinet, never to be used again.
You've had the fortune of working for a lot of great companies, and I'm sure you've run into your share of tremendous leaders, people who have had an impact on your career, and you've seen have an impact on other people's career. What have you found to be one of the most important traits of a leader that you've had the pleasure of working under?
I think one of the most important traits is empathy. I think that when a leader understands, who their, teammates are, who their collaborators are, who their partners are, and they understand their point of view, it's a lot easier to, reach that common goal. And without empathy, it's hard to understand where another person's coming from. I think leaders that have great EQ have that, built in naturally. And if that's something that doesn't come naturally to you, the more you can work at it, I think the better leader you become.
Mm-hmm. That's good advice. Well, Nick, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. This has been fun.
No, that's great. And so if people want to find out more about Vitals, where should they go?
Please go to thevitalsapp.com. Check us out on our Facebook page. And, keep getting the word out about, what we're doing to make the world a safer place.
Cool. Thanks again, Nick.
Thank you.
And that wraps it up. I want to thank Nick for joining me to talk about his career and the unique startup, Vitals. Recently, I launched a survey on my site to learn more about you, the audience. Please take a few minutes to head over to schmidt-list.com and click on Take the Survey button at the bottom of the page. It's quick and simple. That's schmidt-list.com. Also, with the festive season upon us, the Schmidt List will be taking a break for the next 2 weeks. Don't worry, I'm locking down a ton of amazing individuals to join me on the show in 2018. In the meantime, do me a favor by heading over and taking the survey, and if you haven't left a review or subscribed, well, it is the season of giving, isn't it? I appreciate each and every one of you for listening, and I hope you have a fantastic holiday season. We'll see you next year.